welcome everybody again to the official launch of Nebula. Nebula is our brand new custom visual for Power BI. We have worked on it for quite some time. I just discussed with Nina when it really was when we first discussed it. And it was in the beginning of this year. So nearly a year ago since we first discussed it, and now we finally can release it to you guys, to the Power BI community. And yeah, it's quite an exciting day. So we're happy to hand out sort of this Christmas present to the Power BI community. Nebula is, as mentioned, a custom visual, but it's really not like any other custom visual or native visual that you're working with. Because normally you display your data with visuals. You display your data in lines and bars and pies and donuts and tables and whatever. Nebula is very different. Nebula doesn't care what data you have in your report. Nebula doesn't even know what kind of data you have in your report. Nebula is really a design tool brought into Power BI to create those nice looking, stunning reports that we all want to create in an easy and quick manner. Let me tell you a little bit about the story behind and how the idea came up. So my name is Pascal. I'm the founder of BI Samurai. We're doing anything in and around Power BI, including the development of custom visuals. We already have a few visuals in AppSource, and they are mainly there because we saw certain gaps, certain things that wasn't possible to develop with native visuals or custom visuals in AppSource. So we developed those visuals. And with Nebula, it's sort of the same thing. I had the idea about Nebula a long time before we actually started implementing it. But because I know how much work the development is, it really needed somebody else. So when I told Nina about a year ago that I had this background visual somewhere in the backlog, and I didn't know when we would start developing it, she asked me to promise her that whenever we start doing it, that she would want to be involved. And that's basically the day we started really working on Nebula, because I finally had somebody that's, first of all, very enthusiastic about design and nice looking reports. And secondly, also somebody that could really drive that project and bring it to a success. And Nina will also be the one showing you Nebula in action today. A few cool facts about Nebula. Nebula is a completely free custom visual. This is new to us. All our visuals so far are paid visuals, but Nebula will be free. Also, Nebula will, of course, be Microsoft certified. It's not yet certified because really this is the first version that we provide. So it's not the final version, which also means certain things will not work perfectly yet. And as soon as the visual is certified, it always goes through the certification process, and it takes much longer to hand out a new version, a new update. And if we don't go through AppSource, what we're doing currently, we can quickly fix bugs and add new features. But it will definitely be certified. We are well aware that most companies only use certified visuals. And because Nebula is really a design tool, sort of, we think that it can be used in any kind of report. Doesn't matter what kind of data is displayed. And we're really looking forward to work with the Power BI community to receive feedback, to know what works, what doesn't work, what they would like to have added to the visual, because the more feedback requests or more feedback we get, the more we know that people are really using it. And then in return, the more time we can invest into making Nebula better and truly what is needed by the people out there. Because we might think we know the next best feature, but we're a small group of people, so we really want to work with the community. And that's already it for a couple of minutes from my side. I will hand over to, I think, the most exciting part of today. I'll hand over to Nina to present to you guys what Nebula looks like and what it really is.
So yeah, hello everybody and welcome to everyone that joined in the meantime. I'm super excited to show you this tool that we've, like Pascal said, we've been developing for a while, and it was also a thing I wanted to be involved in since the beginning. So I'm really happy that this is able to see the light finally, and that you can test it, that we can get feedback and so on. First thing that I would mention is how you can actually get this tool. So you can get it on our website, and I think we haven't made it visible here yet. So
Right after the meeting, I'll do that. Yes.
okay, so right after the meeting, you'll be able to, but the link already works. So if you go to bisamurai.com/nebula, you come to the Nebula page. And if you scroll a bit down, you have the app, like a short form. You enter your name, your email. You press Get Nebula, and you're going to get an email with the link to download the visual. Okay, so let's go to Power BI. So once you have that visual file saved, you need to import the visual into your Power BI. So you go to these three dots here. Let me see if I can make it a bit bigger. So yeah, okay, these three dots here. You're going to say import visual from a file. Let me just hide this. And yeah, I'm going to go to my folder. So wherever you save the visual, you double click on it. So now I already had the visual actually in the file, and it's telling me that I have it, and that if I want to update it, I'll say yes. But for you, you should get just this message that it was imported successfully. Okay, so let's just start with this page. So if I go, now I have my visual here. You can see it. You can also pin it by right-clicking, pin to visualization pane. It's going to be added to other visuals that you have. And let's add it to the page. Perfect. I'm going to make it bigger. And as a starting point, you can see that it's just some information about Nebula. There's not much that you can do with it. And that's because there are a few steps that you need to do before you can start working with Nebula and creating reports. There's some settings you need to set to be able to really bring your vision to life and, not have any limitations. So the first thing is that Nebula needs some measure or some field to be added to this launch Nebula part to be able to launch Nebula basically. So it really can be anything. I'm gonna use last refresh, so it's really a random thing. And as you can see now, the data, the information about Nebula disappeared, and I get a bit of a different view. So a few more things to set up is in the format your visual. I would go to general. We also, on the website, we have all of these described again in the instruction part of how to use Nebula, so you don't have to remember this right now. It's you're going to be able to read it at your own pace when you start working with Nebula, so no worries, but I'm still gonna go through them. So you would go to properties, and the first thing I do is I disable padding, or I put padding to 0 on each side. This just allows me that if I'm want to add any element close to the border or to the border, I don't get the padding, so I can actually put it right next to the border. I'm going to go to advanced options. I'm going to put maintain layer order on. This just allows me that when my reporting is in the reading view, the order stays no matter which visual you have selected. Two more things. I'm going to go to effects and turn off the background. And I'm going to turn off header icons because they are not needed for this visual. Okay, so to the fun part. So here I have the really, 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 really simple report with some dummy data, simple data. It's just so we have some content, and so we are able to create a bit of a design and to show you how easy it is to do that with Nebula. So you can see in the actual page, you have kind of two buttons. I'll talk about this one, the eye with a kind of a line through it later, but we're going to focus now on the plus button. And this really gives you the, an option of which element you want to bring into the page right now. So far we have rectangle, circle, and line, but we do want to add more and have ideas to add more. But let's say for a simple design, I want to add a rectangle because I want to create a header. So as you can see here, a rectangle was added. I'm going to resize it to be my header. For this, I'm going to say, I don't need a border tick, like a border at all. I want it in a, let's say, a nice blue color because just for the purpose of fitting with what I have with a short time. So I'm going to put the blue, I'm going to say apply. And one thing that I'm going to add as well is a shadow. So here's only going to be on the y-axis, and I'm going to put it to 10. And I'm also going to put a bit of a lighter color, something like this. All right, so now I have my header. Now I want to start adding boxes for my visuals, for the visuals that are on the page. So I'm going to take rectangle again. And okay, now I want to add this for my card that I have here. But as you can see now, I can't really see what's below it, so I can't really align it nicely. So we have this fun thing in the visual, which is this second button that I was telling you about. And if you press on it, the visual becomes a bit transparent. So you're really able to align nicely with whatever is on your page already. So I'm going to just make simple designs here. Please don't judge me if this doesn't look amazing. It's just for the purposes of you being able to see what you can do with Nebula. So what I'm going to do here again is I'm going to disable the border. I'm going to edit a bit of a radius. So I want rounded corners. And I'm going to add the shadow, this time on the X and Y axis. I'm going to say blur. Let's do the same as we did above, and a light gray again, something similar to what we have. Yeah, something like that. So now I have a box for my first KPI card, and I'm just going to, I want to do the same, I want to keep the same characteristics for the other cards as well. And the easiest way to do this is just to say Control-C, Control-V, and I can copy and paste this. And as you can see, it also tells me how to align it nicely. So I can just do that for each of my, oops, I can do, also delete with, Control Delete works. And I can just align it nicely. Okay, and now I want to add these boxes to the other visuals as well. Again, Control-C, Control-V, and you just simply resize. Let's say we want to keep the same touch and feel for all of the visuals. So I'm going to align this nicely. Maybe this one is a bit taller, higher, taller. Let's add these, oops, here as well. And the last one up here. Yeah, let's keep it aligned nicely. All right, so now I added the boxes for all of my visuals, and I can, see my design. One more thing that I want to add, I don't like that everything is white, so I'm just going to add the background as well. So I'm going to add another rectangle, put it across the whole page. I'm going to turn off the border, and I'm going to give it a nice light gray color. And a really cool feature as well, I'm going to say layer ordering, and I'm going to say send to back. So it's behind everything else that I created. Okay, perfect. So now I have my design, but I cannot see my other visuals, so it doesn't help me a lot. So what I also do is go to view, to selection, and I'm going to put Nebula at the very bottom of my visuals, of the bottom layer. And now everything is aligned really nicely, and I have a design of my reports literally in a few minutes. But let's say that now I have another page that has some, visuals that are not aligned exactly the same. So I want to bring in the same design, but I have different elements on the page. Again, really simple. You can just select the visual, Control C, and come here and Control V. I'm going to put it to transparent again, and I'm just going to align everything nicely. So I don't need these KPI cards boxes. And I'm going to, so I see that my, height is a bit different here than it was before. Visual, this one, for example, is smaller. So I'm really just going to align nicely here. Make sure that this is aligned with at the top. Here I just have one big table, so I don't need two of these. So I'm just going to align here, and make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to turn off the transparency. Maybe I can make this a little bit like this. And I'm going to bring it back to the bottom layer. And now I have the new design for a new page with a completely different layout. And this alignment literally took, I think, I don't know, it was less than a minute. So once I have the first design ready, to be able to reuse it in other pages, it's really quick and really easy. So yeah, very exciting. So I would mention a few more things about the visual, about the settings itself. So for example, so we saw what settings we have here. We have the main menu where we choose which element we want to add to the page. And then on a specific element, we also have, some settings that you can set. We were mostly just working with rectangles, but I could also add a circle. Again, I can change the color, shadow, border, color, and thickness, the layer, and all of that. I can also remove it by clicking there. And I can also add a line. This is a really bad example because it's black on a really dark blue, but yeah, I can also add a line and, they rotate nicely, and you're also able to make some designs with lines. Now, besides these settings, we also have settings in the format your visual, and these are mostly default settings. So for example, if I say I want to bring a rectangle to my page that is going to have 400 pixels in width, 200 in height, let's say I want 20 border radius, I want thickness to be 5, border color blue, and the color inside orange. Horrible, let's just say. And I'm going to add it. So now every element that you add, so every time you're going to click on the rectangle, this is going to be what you're going to see. So what I did before, I created the design and then I copy and pasted it, but I could have done that before as well, and I made, my design and my specified everything, also in the settings. And yeah, now this is for all of the elements that we have, and the last setting is the code of Nebula. So I can simply copy and paste this visual to another page, or I can also copy the code and add it again. When I add a new when I add the visual again, the code is going to be empty, and I simply copy and paste this code in there, and my design is going to be exactly what I have here. Yeah, so that's very cool things about Nebula. What I quickly also wanted to show is just how, in contrast, how much time that would take, or what that would look like if I was working, for example, with Figma. So just to be clear, I love Figma. Most of my designs before were created in Figma. I still use it for different things. So yeah, big fan of Figma, but I do see that it's not the most optimal to create, backgrounds in Power BI, because it's a lot of going back and forth. So I created the quick design before the call, and I just wanted to show. So this is, okay, if we remove this one actually, and that's it. This is kind of what I'm expecting, what my design is back in Power BI. So I'm just going to export this as a PNG. I'm gonna save it here, and then I need to go to Power BI, and I want a new page now. I need to go to format your page, canvas background, and add now this. I think we saved here, Nebula was Figma. So kind of is, but not really. I have a lot of adjustments that I need to make, right? Everything is a bit, it's not the way that we want it. It's not really nicely aligned. So I need to go back to Figma. I need to either really know my coordinates or just kind of hope that I'm guessing this correctly, where some things should go. And I'm just gonna guess for the purpose of this. Okay, this one was smaller and this one was bigger. So I'm going to export it again. Okay, I think that I got it now, and this should more or less be the design we're working with. I'm going to save it again. I'm going to go back to Power BI. I'm going to change the image to this new one. And okay, it's better, but we see that now, I made this too big and this one is too small. So what I need to do is go back, change again, import again, and then there's more settings. For example, if you want this to fit really nicely, in this design, it's not a problem, but in a lot of designs, you then also need to say that it needs to fit the page, and so on. So there's a few settings that you still need to set, and it can be a lot of going back and forth. Whereas in Nebula, you just click on the shape and you resize it with the way that, if I make, let's say, I make this smaller. Oops, sorry, that was Nebula. I want this visual. I make it smaller, and for whatever reason, I make this bigger. Then I really can do that, correct that design in Nebula in, I don't know, 5 seconds, and it's back. So it can really save you time compared to other design tools. But then again, those are also fantastic, but it's just the integration with Power BI is unfortunately not the best, and it takes some more time to do things, and some more of going back and forth, and time, at least in our area, is a lot of times of essence, and you want to make things fast, and you have a lot of work, and you want to create nice reports but don't want to spend so much time on it. So this is hopefully can be a solution for that. Okay, so I think I'm a bit over my time. I tried to speed it up a little bit, and this is for now it from my side.
Thank you very much. Before we go into the what's next, let me go one step back. I wanna just answer one question that came up in the chat. It was about performance. So do we see the performance going down if there are a lot of elements added to Nebula? We haven't seen any performance impact if you add many different shapes into Nebula, because Power BI basically renders one visual after the other, and you only add one instance of Nebula to the page. While when you create backgrounds with just adding regular shapes to Power BI, you would add easily, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 shapes. And that would definitely slow down the rendering. But since we only had one visual, so far what we have seen is that Nebula is in many cases faster than when you add regular shapes, lines, and rectangles, and so on. Good. So now let me quickly talk about what's next. I want to go back to one point that also Nina mentioned, that currently you need to add a measure to Nebula, even though it doesn't do anything. You need to go to general settings and turn off the background and change the padding. So our plan is to, or we are already in touch, in contact with Microsoft, with the custom visuals team, and hopefully they will find a way to change that so we can sort of overrule the general settings for Nebula and make it work without adding a measure, because we don't do anything with the measure. It's just custom visuals start working once you add one data field to them, which makes sense for any other visual, but Nebula is just not like any other visual. Good, what's next? I already shared the link to the Nebula website, and Nina showed it, where you can sign up for Nebula already right now. You can go to bisamurai.com/Nebula and get a copy of the visual and use it in your reports. Please do so. Use it in your reports, add it, but even more importantly, please let us know what works, what doesn't work, what features you are missing, what you think should be the next feature that we're focusing on. The more feedback we receive, the better we can decide what is really needed, what people want to see, what's important, what would really make your life easier. So this should really be sort of a community project where we create a visual, but not only from our ideas, but really from what the community tells us is important to them. And of course, what we would love to see is posts on social media using the Nebula hashtag whenever you have created a report with public data, and you can maybe create a screenshot and post it on social media. I think it's good for our motivation to keep this up. Since it's a free visual, having people talking about it is sort of how we get paid for our work. So that's basically our motivation to keep going. We're planning to keep Nebula out there free. We're not planning on selling Nebula. So yes, please really let us know what you think, how you use it, what doesn't work. It's the version you will download today is it's not at all the final version. So we have a lot of topics in the backlog. And also we know of a few small edge cases that don't work in today's version, but we keep working on it. But your help will really shape the future of the product. And I think that sort of sums up what we have wanted to present to you today. I see that there's already emails coming in of people that are starting to download it. So thank you for that. That's great. Means that everything is working from that point of view. Once we have a bit more feedback and once we have a version maybe with a few more features, we'll start submitting it to Microsoft to also have it certified and have it available in App Source. But that whole process, especially the certification, just simply takes a couple of weeks on the Microsoft side. So I don't want to give any estimated go live for the certified version because we never know if they would accept the first version of it. But I can assure you that we're doing everything to make it certified. That's very important. And with that, I think we also reached the end of our 30 minutes together. So thank you very much for joining us here today. And happy holiday. More
Sorry, Pascal.
questions? Yes,
Yes, I
sure.
just wanted to. There was a question in the chat from Fred, and he is asking if it works with other custom visuals like Zebra BI.
Absolutely. Nebula, technically custom visuals, different custom visuals in one report, they don't even know of each other. So it works with any visual there is. Yes.
I would just point maybe one thing just to help working with it regarding custom visuals, and I'm sharing my screen again. Sometimes when you have a custom visual and then you have other visuals, it's a bit hard to move them. Okay, so now of course that doesn't happen, but sometimes they, it lags a bit or the resizing doesn't work perfectly. So when you're working with your other visuals that are not Nebula, that are either native or Zebra BI or something else, I would recommend you that for that time being, you hide Nebula so it doesn't interfere with your other visuals. You can freely move them around, make new designs, and then you unhide or show again Nebula and align nicely again your with your layout, also your boxes or whatever you're creating in the background. So yes, it works with other visuals as well, other custom visuals, but sometimes the resizing or the moving of the visuals can lag a little bit. So hiding a visual, Nebula in this case, can help with that.
Yeah, it's an issue for all custom visuals, not a Nebula
Exactly.
related
Yeah.
issue. It's
Yeah.
something that also Microsoft, I know they are aware of it. Probably has a bit of a lower priority than all the cool new Fabric features they want to push out. So again, thanks everybody for
Yes. Thank
joining
you.
and have a
Thank you very
nice rest of
much.
the day. Nice
Happy
weekend.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. Hope you get some time off. I know I'll be taking some.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
See you. Bye.